Was Automobilista 2's latest update game-changing? How fun are the new cars to drive? And what should you expect with Automobilista 2 following on from its latest game-changing update? That is what we're going to discuss in this video. Subscribe so that when I say something negative about your favourite game, you can then unsubscribe and enjoy that emotional process. And if you click the like button, I promise to not tell anyone that you watch this channel. As always, Reiza are smashing the updates out, this time with some beautiful 2005 and 2004 GT content. And this was an era where GT cars were not miserable like modern GT3 cars. You have your Aston Martins, you have your Maserati MC12s, you have your Dodge Vipers. Oh my goodness, really good cars that look gorgeous and drive in a little bit more of a tricky and exciting way than modern GT3 cars. So if you actually like manoeuvring vehicles around, dancing with your toes, dancing with your brake, and maybe wishing for a little bit more brake performance, this Historical Endurance Pack Part 1 is fantastic. And like their other DLCs, you can try this for free right now because they always do a free weekend when they first launch stuff. So give it a go before you can pay for it, and then you can pay for it if you want to or not if you don't want to. That's pretty good for Reiza to be doing that, I have to say. On the track side, you also get a Circuit de Mans 2005, Road Atlanta 2005 and a 2005 Spa-Francorchamps. And great track models. You can't go wrong. Again, Reiza's 3D art, modelling, texturing and the performance of the game, absolutely superb. If you put a VR headset on, you will enjoy these tracks and you'll enjoy that detail. Or if you've got a nice monitor. The graphics in this game are superb. So to get that out of the way as well, all the new cars, the 3D models look amazing. The interior cockpit details, spot on. You know, what more could you want? It's all very high quality 3D content. I would say, though some of the cars do sound nice and they're pleasant to listen to, and I think the last update Reiza did some audio changes that generally just make things sound better, but they've also just polished stuff in general more with the audio. Though I think the audio is pretty good on some of the cars, it's still not the most exciting of audio in the cockpit. Sometimes it's a little bit, you know, not up to the same standard as the 3D models and texturing and graphics and everything. So the audio still maybe could be a bit better, but many of the cars still sound great, and the external sounds and the ambient sounds are also absolutely fantastic. Now before we get into the physics component, which you can see us demoing there with the car very well, a big change maybe for some people is the introduction now of temporal anti-aliasing, which is another form of doing AA, basically making the image smoother, rather than using MSAA, which is normally a better way of doing AA, but even with MSAA being good, you can still get a bit of shimmering unless you used really, really high settings. With TAA, you can get a very smooth image at the compromise of sometimes it being a little bit blurry, though it's really not that bad in this. And often with TAA, you can get better performance with very good anti-aliasing. It could be swings and roundabouts as to which version of AA is better to use, and it could depend on your graphics card and your system speed what you should be using or what you'd want to use. But what a lot of people will find with this is that the TAA, especially maybe for some VR users, will allow for a much smoother image, a lot less shimmering, and a bit more sort of general clarity. So I found that with the TAA that it looks really, really nice and actually does look a bit smoother than even the MSAA on maximum. The only real negative I noticed was the vehicles look a little bit more blurred, though actually details in the distance didn't look blurry. It's a lot better than the TAA in Assetto Corsa Competizione, for example. As to the performance, it's hard for me to say because we're running a budget 50-90, so it always just runs at maximum performance basically. So yeah, you might want to try it, give it a go. For some people, especially some VR users, the TAA could be a really nice addition to getting a very smooth image whilst also still getting very good performance. On to physics and handling of the new cars. It's very Automobilista 2-y, it's very Reiza-y. This sim is basically driven effectively the same for the last 2 years. There's been tweaks and changes here and general improvements, but you know, it's Automobilista 2. I don't think they're ever going to make this not drive like Automobilista 2. Now, the good news with that is, if you like how AMS2 drives, then you'll really enjoy it, and you'll really enjoy this content as it falls in line with the other content that was previously in the game. However, if you don't like that sensation of trail braking and car rotation in AMS2, where it basically feels like the rotation is from you removing grip off the rear rather than the diff actually rotating the car, and if you don't like that kind of the cars seemingly not having any like mass to them and them driving like a sort of solid, very responsive on the throttle but not responsive on the brakes, solid plank. If you don't like that, then well, this is exactly the same as AMS2 has always been. Also, these cars, and you notice it more with these cars, especially this Maserati, because it's quite a stiff car even in other simulators. It's quite a hard car to rotate through corners, and also the brakes are not the best on this car in all simulators relative to how fast it is. What you will notice is it's prone to that Automobilista 2 thing where you seemingly just have the rears turn off on braking because you broke just a little bit too hard whilst turning a little bit too much, and that's not always totally consistent. It's, you know, it will have been fine for 3 laps and then 1 lap it's like, oh, that's where you spin. Deal with it. So you know, if you're someone that drives a bit below the limit all the time, or you're not really pushing it all the time on the braking, then you probably won't notice, probably won't care. But if you're someone that's used to the braking in iRacing, the original Assetto Corsa, and you're someone that really wants to be driving on the limit with the brakes all the time properly, then it'll probably drive you insane and put you off playing the game a bit. But that said, it's not that it's not fun to drive. Everything's very manoeuvrable. You can hold crazy amounts of slip. You can throw the cars into corners. It is quite a slidey slim to drive. It doesn't seem to have that super mega bite that you might expect from some of the higher downforce cars. But, you know, it's totally drivable, and it's really nice to drive these vehicles on the various tracks. And where I think, as we always say, this really stands out is when you're playing the AI, which they have also updated and polished, and every time they do packs in DLC, they do adjustments and tweaks to try and get the AI to work as good as possible as it could do with the new content that they do, and the old content. Reiza are always working. The point is, you can jump into this and have single player race sessions that are really quite decent, especially when you consider how bad the AI is in other simulators. Like the AI in the original Assetto Corsa is so bad it's basically pointless playing it in single player. It might have amazing physics and drive better by far compared to AMS2, but you know, unless you've got a group of friends to organise doing league racing, or you're doing LFM, you're not going to be able to race anyone properly. Whereas with AMS2, you've got all these amazing cars, historical tracks, loads of stuff to do, looks great, and you can whack in some AI and have a really decent time. If you're like an alien driver, really fast sim racer, you will notice, especially on like Le Mans, the AI bunches up in certain places, and if you set the AI on like lower strengths, they kind of just cap out the speed down the straights rather than being technically slower. So it does have the AI quirks to it. It's not perfect, but if you were like an average sim racer, or even slightly above average, you can have a good time with the AI. You know, they're actually quite quick, and they're not completely stupid like they are in, as I say, the original Assetto Corsa. Better than the AI in Race Room as well. Maybe not as good as the AI in iRacing, but then you have to pay a monthly fee for iRacing and £3,000 for each car and track, so, you know. But most of the stuff that's in this DLC and with the update is pretty much familiar to those of you, not the cars, but like the content now, the gameplays and everything that goes on with MS2. It's not really changed that much drastically from previous updates. So you can go and watch those previous videos if you really want a good overview of Automobilista 2. This is really more a nice DLC drop. And yeah, I can't think of many other sims though where, again, you can just slap on a VR headset and have a 40 plus car grid with it running at 120 FPS, absolutely looking crystal clear and sharp, no frame drops, single player, jump in and drive, or host a server with your friends, jump in and drive. You know, it's a nice simple thing to get into, and I think that's where Automobilista 2 really shines. And talking about shining is how the coins in your pocket will shine, because this only costs $8.99 for the historical endurance pack, which is a ridiculous value proposition when you compare it to the price of other driving simulators and driving games and the amount of content that you get for $8.99. And then the base game of Automobilista 2, especially when it's like Black Friday sales, which will be happening very soon, is a few pounds. So, you know, then the free weekend to try it out. You really can't complain. It's a bloody good value for money simulator. And most importantly of all, the grass is a good 7 out of 10 in this. When you combine that with the frame rates, it might not have 3D trees, but the actual grass quality is decent. So that really does reflect well. I can't end this video though on a positive note. I do have to be clear. If your goal is to drive as realistic as possible vehicles and not be irritated by some physics quirks, you're much better off driving cars like this Maserati in the original Assetto Corsa. Maybe do hot lapping in it just for the raw handling experience. But if you can look past the aspects of AMS2 physics, I think you'll have a good time. And I think most people have a really good time with it. So that is pretty much it really. Just this video is more of an announcement and a summary of what to expect. Check out our previous videos. Give this a go. Give it a go in VR and you will have a really good time. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this useful. Drop any questions in the chat. I'll answer them as best possible. Until the next one though, happy tea drinking. Take care and goodbye.